So when people talk about caring for their athletes, whether they call it transformational leadership or servant leadership, when we talk about caring for athletes, loving them as people, we can think it means being soft, right? Being nice, being friendly. Like it can oftentimes lead us to try to be friends with our players because we want them to like us. And yet the best leaders are the ones who we know care about us so much that they're going to tell us the truth. They will be direct. They're going to challenge us. I think this is one of the biggest obstacles a lot of leaders face. And it's not, I think, wanting to be liked from an ego perspective, but it's oftentimes we want our players to have a great experience. We want great relationships with our athletes. Like it's our purpose and mission is to have these transformative relationships. So then we end up becoming afraid of being honest. We're afraid of challenging because we think that if we challenge and are honest and the relationship doesn't work out, then it's our fault. Like we're failing as a leader. We're not doing a good job. And that's just not the case. Now, today, in part 2 of our conversation with Briarcrest coach, basketball coach Shane Sowden, we're going to be talking a lot about that, right? In last episode, we talked about his belief in himself, right? And better knowing who he was and who he is as a leader has led to more confidence and conviction. And once he's had that, right, that confidence and conviction, once he's built that, now he's able to have the hard conversations with his players because their opinion of him as a leader, whether they liked him or not, wasn't the determining factor of whether he was a good coach or not, whether he's a good leader or not. He knows who he is. He knows how he wants to show up and how he wants to operate. And so he's able to go out there and operate according to his beliefs, not to others' beliefs about who he is. And that's self-belief. It enables him to do much more than even just have these hard conversations. It enables him to actually do some amazingly bold things, like run a father-son retreat, which he was deathly scared about doing, as you'll hear about in the story. And it's amazing how he had the courage to step into that vulnerability to do this thing and what it has meant to the program over the last 3 years. So you're going to absolutely love today's conversation with Shane, I have no doubt. Welcome to the Coaching Culture Podcast. My name is JP Nurbin, and I'm joined by my co-host, Nate Sanderson. The mission of this podcast is to help you to grow as a leader and build a better team culture. If you'd like the notes to this and every episode of the podcast and other culture building tools, be sure to go to tocculture.com and subscribe to the weekly newsletter there. Also at tocculture.com, you can learn more about TOC Coach, our online coaching courses and community. Right? Incredible platform for you just to invest in your leadership every single day. You can get certifications that are obviously great to have on resumes and things like that, but they're more importantly, they're actual transformational programs that will take you through knowing yourself better as a leader and then figuring out how to operate and build a culture from that coaching identity, that coaching philosophy. So really, really powerful. I mean, we talk about all these things with Shane around coach identity and mission, vision, values, and then how does that show up for our players, for our team? Well, this TOC Coach platform is the way to actually get that at an affordable price, right? I know not everybody who's out there is in the position to afford one-on-one coaching like Shane was. And yes, this is the next best thing. And so we hope you will check it out. Head on over to tocculture.com. So you've been able to build this, powerhouse program in Saskatchewan because of the culture and because of your example. When it comes to building those relationships, what are some things that you do from the recruitment process to the time a guy leaves your program to really build that relationship, that supportive, connected relationship with each of your athletes on an individual level?
You talked about, like Nate, you brought up the word vulnerability. We don't really talk about vulnerability much. We use the word candor, and then we throw in front of that caring candor. And so we talk about just being candid, because there was a book years ago called Radical Candor. I can't remember what the author's name was, but it was really good. And my graduate study prof, she's like, this is great, but I like the word, instead of saying radical candor, how about caring candor? So honesty that comes across, it might be really hard to hear, but you're able to do it in a way that the person receiving it knows that you care. And so I always thought I was really honest with my players, I think a couple of years ago, I realized maybe I wasn't as honest as I thought, and I wasn't lying, but sometimes you kind of don't say the whole truth because you're scared of hurting somebody's feelings. And I kind of realized a couple of years ago is like, I'm not doing my players any good unless I'm like, I gotta be radically and show radical and caring candor and be just brutally honest with some of these guys. And that's hard. It's draining. But I made that commitment. I just said, okay, I need to just be that. And so it's just, creating collisions before practice, trying to learn more about them off the court, having way more one-on-ones, which is hard. On the road, sitting with them at breakfast, asking them questions that don't have anything to do with basketball, right? Using your bus time really, really effectively. I think I've started buying every book that I can that talks about asking questions, and it's just, so like, we'll just create environments where we're asking crazy questions. We'll meet in my hotel room. I'll have 20 guys in our hotel room and like, hey, pick a page, and they'll pick a page in the book and there'll be a question on it. As I read the question, they'll be just talk like, anyways, it's just trying to get deeper. And then if there's an issue on the team, just trying to tell my story as a collegiate athlete and trying to help them understand where I'm coming from. Because a lot of times my story when I was a college athlete resonates with my guys now, and trying to help them understand, like, guys, I've gone through what you went through. I want you to learn from my mistakes. And I don't want you to live in, like, say, whether it was have the experience I had as a player, either mentally or competitively or emotionally. And that's why I coach. So trying to help them understand how and why I've come to the conclusion of how I coach, of telling my story, I think has gained a little bit of trust with my players, because they're just like, oh, coach kind of went through this. He made some massive mistakes when he was younger that he wishes he would have changed, and had some successes too. But I just really want them to just know what makes me tick. Because I think sometimes players just don't understand that their coach is a human too. And we got struggled and we've done some good things sometimes. And for them to understand that, because life is hard. And it just is.
Shane, we could generalize a little bit here and maybe brainstorm. Gosh, I'm just thinking of, a coach sitting in their car, they're working out, they're listening you to describe the things that you're doing to build relationships. And in their mind, there's all these excuses. Yeah, but in my situation, or my guys, or, like, reasons why this is really difficult. And rather than kind of look at that from a general perspective, what's been the biggest obstacle for you as you've really invested in building these relationships, these deeper, more meaningful relationships than just the point guard being able to execute or communicate on the court? You're talking about connections here that are, as you said, human to human, that make a difference in their life. What's been hard for that, for that to happen, both for you and maybe for your players? What are some of the obstacles you've had to overcome to build these connections?
From a personal standpoint, just time. I still make excuses. I'm like, we've had enough one-on-ones. That guy's good. Or what? We have intuition as coaches. You can tell from a player's body language that maybe they're not doing well. And you talk to them, and then it's like, man, I got to find an opportunity to meet with this guy. And then you put it off for a couple of days for whatever reason. And sometimes they're good reasons. But something I've learned is, like, as coaches, it's really easy to sit behind our laptop watching film, creating the perfect practice plan or system. It's way harder to invite a guy into your office and sit across from you. And you're like, oh, this will take 15 minutes, but then it takes 2 hours. And then you got practice. And it's just like being comfortable with, if you create that connection, I find the X's and O's come a lot quicker. That sort of thing. And so the relational side for me, and again, we're not perfect at it. Like, I need to do more. There's guys I need to meet with today and tomorrow. I'll be honest, I got a lot of things I need to do, but in the back of my mind, like, I got to meet with these guys because I care about them, and what's most important is really seeing how they're doing and answer any questions that they might have or need clarity on, because that's going to help on the court. But I think sometimes we just forget that. Yeah, that's the more important thing. And I have no idea what some of my guys are going through sometimes, right? The stresses, school, relationships, playing time, whatever it is, what's really bothering them. So all the planning we can do for our program, for practice or games or travel or systems or whatever we're trying to work on, those are great. But like I just find the time that you spend with your guys, whether one-on-one or small groups, the kickback for that, the return on investment is so much higher. The only time I can see where it might be a little bit different is like if you're a brand new coach and you're trying to figure everything out. But if you're a seasoned coach, you kind of know it, right? Like you kind of know your stuff, but you can spend a lot more time just getting to know your guys.
Let me ask you one just quick follow-up to that too. What have been the obstacles that you've seen for your guys? Again, you've mentioned bringing guys in that maybe were in bigger programs, maybe they've had more transactional coaches, maybe they're not used to, I would imagine if they're not used to talking about injuries, they're probably not used to talking about their feelings either. And so, what is it what are the obstacles that you've had to overcome when it comes to trying to make these connections with these new guys in your program?
Number one is how they've been previously coached, their past experiences, by far, bar none, and unrealistic expectations placed on them either by themselves, but just through culture, family, friends. Like we live in a social media world where it's like everybody just trying to find that clip, that can go viral, that sort of thing. And so guys are so worried about that way more than who they're becoming, right? They don't know how to process that, right? Like it's one of those things. But by far, I asked one of my players who out of high school went to one of the top prep programs in Canada, like very strong. And Canada basketball has blown up in the last 10 years. Like we're sending guys all over the world, D1, NBA. There's just Canada basketball is on the rise. Played one of the top prep programs, played at the top level in Canada for a couple of years. And we had a barbecue at a alumni's house a couple of weeks ago. I just said, hey, like out of all the guys you played with the last 3 years, how many of them you'd say that their college experience is like life-giving, they're becoming better men, they're enjoying it, they're loving it, and they could speak really positively about that? And he paused for a little bit. I said, because dude, you played with some absolute studs, like guys that are making a lot of money on NIL deals in the States. He said, yeah, only the two that are getting paid like $500,000 playing D1 would probably say that they have loved their post-secondary experience. And I said, that's so sad. And you know what? And there's probably other guys that are like, maybe, but I find it really sad that I think a lot of, especially high school and post-secondary players, basketball is using them. And they think, rather than just enjoying the process, enjoying the experience, doing hard, working your best, trying to achieve all that kind of stuff. But like, they're so focused on this thing that it's just not going to satisfy. And it's really eating up a lot of young men and probably young women too. And they're leaving their sport, whether they're 18 or 22, kind of wounded and broken. And so I've just seen that more and more because that was my experience as a college athlete, and I don't want that for my guys. And so I think some guys, I think that just happens sometimes. And these other, wherever they're coming from, they don't really mean to do that, but it's happening. And I do think it's a massive problem across the board with youth sport and post-secondary.
You're obviously doing something about it, right? You're actually trying to put yourself out there, offer a relationship, a mentorship with their coach to help them have a much more positive experience.
Mm-hmm.
And just like you said, some of the ways you're doing that through the one-on-one conversations, through the little interactions, through the questions you ask them. The other thing is the things you do as a team, and you talk some about those, like just even getting them to have conversations with each other.
Yeah.
One of the most profound ways that you do that is through the father-son retreat, where you get them all together at the summertime, or just before the start of the season. And part of your team retreat, you invite fathers to come in, and it's been amazing to hear how that's grown over the last few years, where now you're getting fathers traveling from all over the world.
Yeah.
And for those that don't have fathers, you've got mentors there, and you've got alumni coming back. I mean, it's really become kind of like something that is like, at the core of your program and how you do things is this father-son retreat. When you started to do this father-son retreat, what was the scariest part about doing that? Like that in year one, you go back to it, it's like, oh, like it was a bit of a leap of faith, right?
Well, man, because now I'm inviting parents or dads into our inner circle in some ways. And they're going to see me for who I am. And then we're going to say we're about all these things. And then they're going to be there. Well, is he for real? Like, is this really what my son's going to be a part of? That sort of thing. So again, it was the opinion of man. You're just a little afraid of that when you start it. But like, I was so convicted that this was what we needed to do. After that long talk with Greg 3 years ago. And that first year, so we already done team retreats, and it was good. The boys loved it. They'd actually said, like, man, we need to do this at Christmas as well. I said, man, team retreats in Saskatchewan in December, that's a different beast. Anyways, but yeah, the first year sent it out really late because we decided like in July we're going to do this, and the retreat was in like 5 weeks. And like I remember JP, you're helping me prep for it, and I had 5 dads show up. So like 5 dads, we had 21 guys on the roster that year, and 5 of the 21 came. And I invited some local older men who just wanted to just be mentors. Like my dad came, our associate athletic director came, some other like some profs came. It was great. So we basically had nine dads or mentors there. But yeah, year 1 was 5 dads. Year 2 we had 9. Then this past year kind of blew me away. We had 13. So I have 18 guys in the roster this year. 13 fathers showed up. 5 of them flew in from pretty far away to be here to come. Like again, Podunk. You think Caronport's out of the way? Where we're at in Saskatchewan, this camp that I found, my goodness, it's bare bones, but the guys love it because they just get away. And so it's been something that the guys look forward to the most. And I was extremely humbled this last year. Like I got all these dads coming. We've got like 40 some people total. Like, oh, this is getting a little bit big. What are we going to do? And then like a week before we're going, 3 of my alumni are like, hey, can we come too? It's like, of course you can. We'll figure it out. Right. And, I always get a little nervous before the retreat because like you plan all these things, then you kind of just got to decide what do you think's best in the moment, sort of thing based on the group that you have and how people are gelling. And so we just spend 2 days where the guys, they don't get their phones and we eat really good food. We have campfires. We usually do a project on the campus, at the campsite just to help them out. This year we played this game, Coob. Big, massive tournament. We found out some dads were crazy competitive. Oh my goodness. They have middle of Saskatchewan, redneck water slide. That's something. You had that. Like, and then we just have team times. They have this big old chapel, like that's from like 1908 that's still standing. And there's like cracks in the walls everywhere, but it's just this cool environment. We just speed dating. We get the fathers up at the front for a Q&A time of them just sharing. I've never seen so many dads cry before. Oh my goodness. Which wasn't expected. And then this year, just because these alumni came last second, I said, all right, I'm putting you at the front and we're going to have everybody be able to ask you questions just on your experience and all that kind of stuff. And that ended up being like, man, I was getting choked up listening to those guys talk because some of those guys are guys we went to war with for 5-6 years and had butted heads, but in the end, just love those guys. and they've been such a massive part. So yeah, and then it's just this, you leave and all of a sudden you got this group of dads that are like, okay, I get this now. This is different. This is, and so we started a group chat for all the dads plus fathers of alumni. So they're all on this group chat. So like even past fathers are still involved. You're like, hey, no, like you still matter. Like we want you to know what's going on. Right. Even if they never chime in, they just are aware. All that sort of stuff. So it's been fun just seeing you have more fans spreading the word about your program. And then you just have more people wanting to be a part of it. So, the biggest problem we have now, we need a second team. We need more. We just don't have, but it's been fun. It's been extremely humbling. But yeah, it's kind of the foundation of what we do. And now just trying to figure out like, well, how can we grow it? How can we make this even, how can we get more of the dads involved and all that kind of stuff? So yeah, it's been a fun journey.
Yeah, I know so much that was, inspired by Greg Tunigal and some of my prompting there, but it's just amazing to see you take it and really run with it. There's probably two things as I'm listening to you. One is that people are probably like, okay, so what would I do? And I know, actually, in full transparency, in 2 hours time, I am going to be running a parent practice for my son's football team of 7 and 8 year olds, and all the parents are coming. So there'll be 30 boys, 7 and 8 years of age, and there'll be 30 parents. And just looking at it, like I was nervous today too, even though I've written books about this, right? But like, it's like, what's most important is not necessarily the plan. It's not even like where you went, it's not the food that you ate. It's kind of just how you show up. And it comes back to the start of our conversation. Like, you showing up, you being yourself, you being comfortable in yourself and being clear about who you are as a program. And then the right people will be drawn towards that. And so I think it's just an incredible, story of just how you taking this leap of faith, having the courage to do something different, and then stepping in and being comfortable yourself, how that's just such an important aspect of this. And then the second big thing is like, we talk about transformational coaching, but so often we try to do this by ourselves. And yet you're saying, hey, I can't do this by myself. I need to partner with the most important person in that young man's life. And you're building this relationship, this partnership, and you're almost building this support network for the fathers in there as well too, which is just truly, truly powerful.
You said something like the key phrase that you said there that got me is just showing up. And so I was listening to your podcast you guys did. I forget his name. I think it was on restoring masculinity. Was that the title? Yeah. And anything that has to do with manhood, I'll read, I'll listen, I'll watch, whatever. And so you listed awesome statistics in that episode on Sunday that whatever your belief system, the stats are overwhelming. When men show up, willing to lead, serve, sacrifice, give, the world's a better place. And so it's just across the board. Like when men show up, women and children thrive. It's just there. We don't talk about it enough. And so for us, when we talk about engaged fathers and committed husbands, we have a broken family epidemic of men just not showing up. And so that's a big thing we talk about in our program. Like half the battle, guys, just be there. You're not going to have it all figured out, but you just got to show up, because every year the numbers get worse. Men are running away rather than showing up. And so we invited the dads into this, and these dads are showing up, and it's really powerful. And then we have a few guys in our program, they don't have dads. So what do? Well, my dad's 70 years old. He's a massage therapist, retired. He comes twice a week and works on my guys. He just loves having them over for supper, getting to know these guys, developing relationships. He's like a surrogate dad to 5 of my guys. right? You got other, we do this thing, every year we create a handshake with a player with somebody else's dad. It's not your own dad. And we do it with 2 other people. It's hilarious. We do this in August, and we see in January, we have a home game, and one of our dads flies in from British Columbia, hasn't seen whoever for 5 months, walks into the gym, and they're like doing this handshake weird thing before the game because they remember it from like, and then how are you doing? Right? Because we created this opportunity to actually get to know them 5 months ago. Hey, how are you doing with that thing we talked about 5 months ago? Like, that sort of thing. Or some of the guys are checking in. We've got dads from a few years ago. They're mentoring some of my players, meeting them locally for coffee every month. Like, it's just seeing the relationships grow, and like being a father to the fatherless. Right. And so it's just been this pretty cool. I had no clue what it was going to turn into, but yeah, like that whole showing up, just show up. The world be so much better placed if men show up. And so we talk about that with guys, just be there. Right. It's not going to be perfect all the time, but you being there is just so powerful.
Yeah, Shane, just to kind of wrap up our conversation here, you've been doing this for a long time. And if we refer back to the beginning of this conversation, you talked about we all evolve, we all grow, we all learn things, that we wish we would have known 5, 10 years ago. But I do think there's value for the listener to think back, Shane, if you could give yourself some advice, maybe a starting point or a perspective that you didn't have in those first 5 years of your career that you have gained now through all these different experiences. What is 1 or 2 things maybe that you just wish you would have recognized or realized sooner if you could talk back to younger Shane?
Mm-hmm. Probably the number one thing is my worth as a coach, even as a player. But, because I'm realizing the older I get, I still carry wounds from my college career. I was talking with one of my transfers this year, and he kind of mentioned he's still a little bit like he feels a little bit burned from his last experience. And I said, dude, like I get you. I still wake up sometimes and I'll have a bad dream about me playing college baseball, and that coach's face was in my dream. That was 25 years ago. And I'll wake up angry, and my wife's like, "What's wrong?" I was like, and I'll tell her, "It's like, why are you still thinking about?" I was like, "I don't know. I was dreaming, and now I'm cranky." Anyways, my worth doesn't come from the scoreboard. That's so easy to like. And when you say that, like the scoreboard is important. It's a measuring stick. It helps you be better, but it can't be the ultimate thing. And for the longest time, I was just like, well, I'm not winning championships. I'm not winning this. I must be a terrible coach. No. It's just it's a blatant lie. It's ironic. 2 years ago, we hosted a home playoff game for the first ever, and we lost to a team we'd beaten twice. We weren't the better team. We got beat by a better team that day. And I got criticized, numerous people, on how I coached that game. My coaching approach, my style, my demeanor, my decisions, anyways. I was a little caught off guard after that game. Fast forward a year, I don't change one bit. Like I said, I'm doing what I do. I coach the exact same way. We win it all. I get praised by sometimes the same people that were criticizing me a year ago. Man, you're so calm on the sidelines. Your players were composed. Like all this kind of, I was like, what a learning experience. Cause like, you're going to get criticized for stuff that people will praise you for later. And it just kind of made me laugh a little bit, but like, just realize like my worth comes from my faith in God. And that's really hard to remember some days. And then what really matters with these guys, like the rings, the trophies, the banners, it's fun. It's sweet. But there's some days I look at our championship ring and I'm like, okay, this was cool, but the best part about it is that it brings back memories. Not so much that I'm never going to wear that thing. Like it looks stupid and it's too big, and actually it looks pretty nice, but anyways, it's too big. But it's just like, it's just not what it's about. It's just not what it's about. And like we tell these guys all the time, we're like, I will know I was a successful coach when I come see you when you're 35, 40, 45. And the values that you learned in this program, you're living out with your spouse, your kids, your community, your team that you're coaching, wherever you're leading, whoever you are, if that's making an impact there, then we did our job. And that's really what it's about. And I forget that sometimes. It's really easy to forget that, but like just surrounding yourself with people that will remind you, like, keep the main thing, where C.S. Lewis says, first things first, and all the secondary stuff will take care of itself. Like, it's true. It's true. And yeah.
Thanks so much for coming on, Shane. I know there's going to be people that have really enjoyed your heart, your example, the stories you've been sharing. You've recently started a podcast with a friend of ours, Justin Simpkins, the Grit and Growth podcast. Just as we're on the way out here, just tell us a little bit about the podcast, what inspired it, and what's it all about?
Yeah, Justin's the director of Prairie Hockey Academy here in Caronport, one of the best hockey academies, strongest academies in Canada. He does a fantastic job there, and they started a podcast 2 years ago that was a little more, I think based around hockey and coaching and all that kind of stuff. And then in season 2, he was looking for a new co-host, and they asked me if I'd be a part of it. And so it's kind of shifted away from being it's not about hockey anymore. It's just not. It's about interviewing people who are pursuing excellence in their life in whatever. So like we've had top line coaches, nutritionists, mental performance coaches, businessmen, teachers, like you name it, all over the place. We've had it's been really neat getting to talk to people I don't think I ever would have gotten to talk to if we didn't do this. And so yeah, we got this little podcast that's slowly starting to really gain some momentum, and we've got some great guests. And Grit and Growth podcast on all the platforms. And check it out. It's been a fun journey, and this, quite honestly, a little bit of a shot in the arm. Getting to talk to some of these people, they're inspiring and learning something new. And thankful for you guys to do something like this that inspire us to do something like that. So it's a lot of fun, and we're still going. So yeah, we appreciate anybody that would love to take a listen there.
You were one of our attendees at the most recent TOC leadership retreat in May of 2025. You got an endorsement here in like 3 or 4 sentences.
Only 3 or 4. If you're considering going this year, go. It was great. I was given the tools to be a better coach, husband, and father and friend just through improving my listening skills and my questioning skills, and develop some really cool relationships with some like-minded people. And it was just a really special 3 days of connection, and my cup was overflowing when we left. And it was in a beautiful, beautiful place out there in New Jersey. And I loved it. Like it was fantastic. So yeah, can't say enough. Do it next. And great job on the workshops. You guys learned a lot from you too. And we use it in our podcast, like some of the tools you guys gave us. And we feel like our podcast is taking a jump because of it. And my relationships have benefited as well. So thank you guys for doing that. But yeah, it's well worth the investment. Oh my goodness, well worth the investment.
Thanks for the 20 sentences there. I appreciate that.
You said 4 times 5, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming on the podcast, and thanks for sharing a little bit about your experience.
Appreciate it. That was a lot of fun, guys.
All right, that's it for today's episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. Huge thanks for Shane. It was incredible if you go back and listen to his previous episode and listen to Shane today. I mean, here's someone that has been intentional on their development and his growth. So just an incredible role model for all of us out there to continue to put this work in, and that it's not an overnight thing. It's not when you read a book. It's not when you take a course, not when you go to some sort of talk. It's a daily thing, and Shane has invested in himself daily. So be sure to check out his podcast, the Growth and Grit podcast, just an incredible podcast that I listen to as well too. So yeah, we'll put some links in that in the details of this episode. Please also be sure to subscribe to this podcast if you don't. Leave us a 5-star review if you haven't already. That's a great way to support us, as well as share these episodes with people in leadership and coaching that you think will find some value in them.